Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast, where empathy meets action in the world of leadership. Your host, Gino Degregori, engages with innovators and seasoned professionals from diverse sectors, all demonstrating the power of leading with kindness. And now, your host, Gino Degregori.
Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Degregori. Today we have another amazing guest with us, Schatem Boyd. She is the Principal Account Executive at Sandbox AQ. I've known Schatem for a while and always been impressed with her strong, kind leadership. And I emphasize strong because I love your energy and how you go up about anything, right? And that caught my attention when I first met you, and really been very excited to have known you and looking really forward to learning more about you today. So welcome to the show, and tell us more about yourself.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate the compliment. It's always great to meet new people and find other kind leaders and people that kind of, exude what you're trying to put out there into the universe, into the world. So thank you for having me. I'm so excited to do this.
Absolutely.
So funny. When I have to talk about myself, I always kind of laugh because you'll get people, I'm sure, on your podcast. I've listened to all of them.
Thank you.
By the way, love it. That say, hey, I got my degree and this was my path and this is what I was on. And I am the very windy, curvy road path, to where I am today. I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different things. I've owned my own business. I've done consulting work. Now I'm in the IT profession. And I think, with every single place that you've worked or every experience that you have, it just makes you more diverse. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really what I bring to the table when it comes to leadership, and why I'm so passionate about things. I'm actually passionate about a lot of things. I think I think my leadership career probably started when I was about 5 years old.
Wow.
I was the oldest of 5 kids.
Okay.
My mom was a single mom. And so I think there was a little bit of I came out of the womb leading. She said I was, I wanted to walk and talk and do all the things pretty early on. And I think innately, as an oldest child, you kind of tend to take on that leadership role a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's just sort of been my path in my career, right? I've always flocked to leadership. I've always kind of looked at leadership roles, but not necessarily in the role itself. I'm a big believer in leadership as a lifestyle. It's not a role, right?
Right.
It's not, you're the manager, it's
not a title. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. I think you lead when it's your friends, your family, your team, whether you're an individual contributor or in the title. Mm-hmm. And you've heard me say this a million times, but the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think that is really what you look at when you are looking for a leader.
Right, exactly. You can't fake it. Right?
Can't fake it. Absolutely. You cannot fake it, for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing your background there. So the first question that I always ask my guests is, what does kind leader mean to you?
Oh, man. It's a lot, right? If you have to boil it down, I think a kind leader really is inspiration. Your job as a leader in any environment, whether it is in a role, whether it's an individual contributor, as a parent, as a friend, it is really making people feel like they can accomplish anything, mm-hmm. being an advocate for someone, helping people see the best in themselves, mm-hmm. and pulling the best out of people.
Right.
I think when you're leading, a lot of times people may not know what they're good at, or they may get focused on the negative or the hard, mm-hmm. or the challenges. And you may have people that really know what they're good at and they mm-hmm. can excel at all of these amazing things. And your job as a leader is to pull out the best of all of those people, right? I think you have to inspire people. Mm-hmm. I probably all worked for people that you weren't going to follow anywhere, right? Like it was, okay, I have to report to this person, or I have to be in this person's universe. And I think especially when you're mid-career or early career, mm-hmm. there's a lot of, this is who my boss is and this is what I've got to do. But they don't really inspire you. They don't bring you along. And I think a kind leader makes people want to show up. They want to follow you. They will, go into battle for you, right? And I want I want people to show up in my life. And I think if you don't inspire people, you're never going to get that. And that's across the board.
I love it. Yeah, it's the inspiration and the like. I love what you said about the trying to make people become the better version of themselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's key, right? And we've been talking about it in several times now in the podcast. It's about caring at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like, do we care? Because going back to what you said about the managers, right? Let's give them that, and they're like, hey, just checking timesheet or checking that you're doing, and every year you just get your review. That's
check the box.
And that's it, right? And you're not going to get far. You're not, they are not getting far and not helping you become, the better version of themselves. So I love your definition of that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So can you tell us the kind of personal story that you have that allowed you to, as it relates to kind leader?
Yeah, I think, again, being a leader sort of came naturally to me. Like I said, I was the oldest of 5 kids. I was born into a family with a lot of challenges, a lot of diversity, right? You had to figure out your way. And I was actually painfully shy, funny enough. People never believe that, right? Okay. They always think I'm like super outgoing.
Yeah. An introvert, huh?
I am. I am naturally an introvert. I think I've learned, given I wound up in sales naturally in my life, that I've had to learn to be a little bit more extroverted. But I think one of the things that made me realize I was a kind leader is because I tended to be shy and because I tended to be quiet, I would be able to pick up on a lot of things. I'm really good at sitting and reading a room. I'm really good at kind of watching body language and seeing people's faces. A lot of times people will say something, but their body language or their face says something completely different. Okay. And I was really good at looking and hearing or seeing challenges, and I could like work through a solution in my head and pulling people together to help solve it. It happened at a really young age. I mean, I remember being in like 3rd grade and, again, didn't have a ton of friends. I wasn't super social, but I could get people together. I could bring people along. And I think in 3rd grade, I was like running the yearbook team or whatever that looked like in 3rd grade. But I realized that by listening and taking everyone's, opinion into account and making sure everyone was heard and everyone had a voice, that you could create these teams and you could get people to follow you and you could get people to buy in. And it really that's kind of just been my career, is no matter what role I was in, whether it was an individual contributor, a leader, a business owner, it's about bringing people together. It's about listening. It's about hearing people. It's about making sure that everyone is heard. Right. And being really authentic about it.
Absolutely.
Right. People, they'll say something, but if you can't regurgitate back what you think you've heard and validate that you've heard it, they may not think you've really heard them. Right. I think really making sure, again, that people feel like you listen, that they matter, all of those things, right? There's a million things that make up, I think, kind leadership. But I think where I am today, it's been a culmination of, again, all these different roles and these different things that I've done, and, taking bits and pieces and realizing really at the end of the day, it's people. People want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to come together for something bigger than themselves, right? And they want to feel like that the person leading them really believes in them. Yeah. So,
and I think, thank you for sharing the story. And even in 3rd grade, I want to pull on that thread. If you could, it's the listening, and paying attention. As an introvert, I'm also an introvert. I'm not, out there. So
I think a lot of us are, right? We wind up in sales and we're like, we're introverted. Yeah. No, you're not. Yeah. No, really, I am. I'm exhausted when I go home.
Exactly. Yeah. Every conference I go to, I'm like, it's
exhausting.
But what I was trying to say is the listening and the paying attention. That's critical. Yeah. Because if you don't have that, you are only focusing on, as a person, only what I want, what I need. And you're like, okay, well, they'll figure it out and they'll come along, compared to like, okay, let me pause. What do I need? And then who do I need, right? And then the people that are around me, what do they need?
Yep.
So then you have to have the skill set to truly understand what those individuals in your team need, right? And they're different. just like kids, right? They're all different. We're all different in this world, right?
Yep.
And you can feel, and sometimes I get caught up in, as a leader, also with the title, you say something and people are like, yeah, we'll do this, right? Because you said, I'm like, no, I'm actually asking for some feedback and honest, right? Understanding. And you got to read that body language or the energy, right? That you're getting from that. And they're like, no, let's talk. Let's figure it out. Like, what I'm looking for is somebody that is going to give me that information without having to fear of the title, right? Yep. And then I bring it down. It's like, okay, this is what I'm looking. And you provide that level of energy and comfort so they can open up and talk to you.
Yeah,
Does that
absolutely.
make sense?
It makes great sense. I think, there's plenty of leaders out there that don't have children, but I think you make a really good point about everyone is different and everyone needs to be led differently. If you're going to go in and you're going to lead the team in the exact same way, you're actually not going to get the result that you want. It's the same thing with children, right? Mm-hmm. Every child is different. Thankfully, I only have one, but I did grow up with 5. Right. And if you try and parent every kid the same, right? You're not going to get the result you want. So figuring out what drives people, figuring out what inspires people, figuring out what people's fears are, right? That goes back to my original statement of like pulling the best out in people. Yeah. You can have a team of, one person who's really quiet and maybe doesn't speak up. You've got to figure out how to get them to speak up. And if it means that they're not going to do it in a group environment, take them to the side, say, hey, really value your opinion. You are a valuable member of this team.
Right, exactly.
Do you have thoughts about this? Maybe they just don't want to speak up in a group, but they should still be heard, right? And then you may have someone that really, they get excited. They are not introverted, right? They get their energy by, communicating and talking and getting the group and the team together. And maybe that's your person that you kind of lean on to pull out that diversity of thought and get people excited, right? Yeah. So figuring out, again, what drives people, really hear them, understand where they're coming from, and then using all of those tools in your toolbox to, build the house, for lack of a better term.
One question that popped up, it's not in a list of questions that I have, but I wanted to ask it here, is like, do you have to be an extrovert or an introvert to lead with kindness?
I don't think so. And I'm sure that there's plenty of people that would argue with me about that. I think that leaders that are extroverted, it seems like a more natural fit, right? I think if you are in an organization, and I think the tides are changing a little bit on this, right? But I think you naturally, as a leader that's looking to hire someone, another leader, right? You're looking for the person that like stands out and might be loud and speaks up, and But I think one of the best things about having a leader that is a little bit introverted is they do have the ability to kind of step back, ingest, listen a little bit. I think both bring great things to the table, but I think we often underestimate those who are introverted when really they're the ones that can sit back. And again, I mentioned when I was younger, right? I would look around and I can walk into a room and I have no problems in an environment going, all right, I got to step out of my introverted self, right? I've got to go have the conversation and talk. And I do get excited about bringing people together. But there are also times where I know I'm going to sit there and the less I talk, the more I'm going to get. And I think that's what you get with an introvert that's a little bit different than an extroverted leader.
And I ask because the listeners, right, and future listeners, whoever, is like, can I be a kind leader if I'm an introvert? And I think the answer is absolutely. Can absolutely. I be if an extrovert? Absolutely. It's just, is that your personality, how you see, yourself and how you're portraying, the world essentially. But caring and listening and helping others, those are qualities that anybody can have.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to make sure I emphasize that in like, like you said, we're both introverted, but we can turn it on to become extroverted. But I think our gift is being able to listen and paying attention, because when I walk in a room, I'm not like the loudest and I'm always like, let me figure out, and where's the exit first? Okay, where's just to make sure I know my surroundings, I know the people, and then I'm pretty good myself too in reading energy, right? Energy meaning like, is this person?
You feed off people.
You feed off people, and also understand, you feel like the intentions too, because when I said earlier, how I describe you, a strong, kind leader, I felt the strength of, not only confidence, right? But also just, I believe in myself.
Yeah. That came a lot later in life, by the way. I think when you are a little bit shy and you are introverted, I think the confidence takes a little bit
for sure
to come. I think I had to obviously lead some teams. I had to do some leadership coaching. I did some executive coaching. I've, done all of the things to really hone that skill because I'm not naturally confident. Right. I really had to grow into that. I did a lot of like fake it till you make it. I kind of hate that term, right? Because I think it's a matter of growth and learning the tool set. But I appreciate you acknowledging that because, I think that the confidence piece is the thing that can come later in life. But it goes back to that's another way that I lead, right? I want people to feel confident in what they're doing. A lot of times you have diverse teams where you've got someone that's just starting out in their career and they may be on a team with someone that's really senior, right? Helping people realize like, you don't have to have imposter syndrome. We're all in this together. Yeah. I'm going to give you what I think you can do and I might push you and I might challenge you and I'm going to help you step out of your comfort zone, but I'm going to be there with you and I'm going to believe that you can do it. There is nothing better than talking to someone or walking through something with someone, whether it's a friend or someone that you're leading at work or a teammate, a peer, and telling them how awesome they are, right? To say, hey, no, you can do this. You can totally do this. Absolutely. You can overcome this, or you can push through this, or you can try this. And really having somebody feel like they've got someone in their corner, like that's a really cool feeling.
Words are powerful.
Absolutely.
Very powerful, right? And I would shift the paradigm from fake it till you make it to be more, you are what you believe.
I love that. That's a much better way to say it. Yeah. Much better way to say it.
It's like you are, because you are what you think, or you are what you believe. Those two words, right? Because if you think you're not, you're not.
The mind is a very powerful thing, right? It's a very powerful thing. And I believe you can will a lot of things just with your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good or bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm hoping a lot of good.
A lot of good.
But to your point, it's like, I sit down with one of my employees every other week and I believe in him, right? I believe in this person and making sure that we got a role for this person. He's running, he's building it, right? And one of his challenges is the imposter syndrome, and then also the introverted not asking the question. What if I ask the wrong question? Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, think about it. Go through the scenario. Yeah. What if?
What if you don't ask? What if you don't ask the question?
Right? Exactly. Right? You're not going to get the information that you need to be successful, right?
Have you ever heard of the 6 working geniuses?
No.
So I highly recommend this to anyone who has a team, is leading a team. It's actually even great for the family dynamic. Peter Lencioni came up with this, and you can listen to podcasts, you can look it up. But the 6 working geniuses are probably one of the best tools out there for creating and having really diverse teams, but also helping people realize what they do bring to the table. So I'll give this short summary, but the concept behind the 6 working geniuses is that everyone has 2 geniuses. It's like their special sauce. They can live it, they can breathe it, they can work in it every single day. And then you have 2 that you kind of can live in, but it's not going to be your everyday. You'll eventually burn out. And then we are all lacking 2.
Okay.
So the idea is that you build your team around the gaps and the holes, right? You can put out a job rec and you can say, hey, like, can you do X, Y, Z? Sure. But should you, right? Some people apply for jobs and they go, well, that's my skill set. I can go do it. Does it make you happy? Does it bring you joy? Does it feed your soul? And if not, it's probably not the job that you want to do all the time, right? So to your point about having this person that you talk to every other week and they're afraid to step up, okay, maybe they're afraid to ask, but what are they seeing? What are they really good at? What are they bringing to the table? So for the record, my 2 are galvanizing and discernment, right? Okay. So I bring people together. I get energy from that. Discernment, like, give me enough information and just let me run. I'll go make a decision, right? But I also sometimes lack wonder. That's one of them. Okay. I need to have somebody on my team that brings that to the table, right? I need to have somebody that brings invention to the table. So there's 6 different, but if you can round out your team, when you have someone like the gentleman that's like, I'm struggling with imposter syndrome, I'm not sure what I bring, help them go figure out what they do bring to the table so that they're willing to live in that arena and step up when it makes sense. Let that part shine so that you don't focus on what you don't bring to the table yet, that you don't bring to the table today, but that you do bring, right? That's a really great way to round out your team.
I love it because a lot of people, even in those conversations, we're focusing on, okay, what's not working, right? What's not working. And we assume that or take for granted the stuff that is working, right? And not really build it up from a strength, right? Okay, this is your superpower.
Absolutely.
Right? Here's your superpower.
Help people find their superpower. Exactly.
So, and let's keep building that. And then the weak areas, whether we augment it with other folks around the team, right?
Exactly.
Or we're not. It's to set them up for success. Essentially,
we can't do it all. No one person can do it all, right? If you look at your friendships, you don't have the same 6 friends or 3 friends or 2 friends, right? You have your one friend that's like gonna, get into jail with you, and then you have your friend that's gonna bail you guys out of jail, right? Like you're gonna have your friend that pushes back and says, "No, you're not looking at this the right way. You're screwing this up," or your friend that pulls you out of the trenches when you're kind of, you need that in your team dynamic as well. You need someone that's going to say, "Hey, Gino, hey, Schatem, you're looking at this the wrong way. Like you need, let's think about it from this angle." Or you need somebody else on your team that's like, "Let's just go do it and see what happens," right? Like throw caution to the wind. Yeah. You really do need that diverse group of people. If you hire the same people or you keep the same people around you, it's status quo. You're not going to grow. It's going to get stagnant. Like we know what happens with stagnant, right? You get sick. It's unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
It's the same
complacent,
thing.
People complacent. It's so it's the diversity, because diversity not only just from, the normal diversity that we're familiar, but it's also within the
internal, internal. It's really easy to go, okay, hire diverse teams, right? Different backgrounds, different ethnicities, all of that's important.
Right.
It's right. But your internal innate skill set, like go hire for that, right? Go find those people because all of those things will.
And the interesting thing, I don't think from a recruiting perspective, I'm actually going to bring this back, is we don't ask those questions to understand the internal.
Correct.
We always look, okay, experience, years of experience, or, their skill sets, their certifications, their degree, where they work and that kind of stuff, right? But we don't really ask, are you an introvert or extrovert or, or even
what are you
one
passionate
of those,
about? What makes you tick every day, right? When I do interviews for people, I will tell you, I almost never kick off the interview with, why are you here? Why do you want this job type questions? I will usually start the first part of the interview with, I've read your resume. You're clearly here for a reason. You're interested in the job. Great. We've put out a rec. Cool. We've laid the groundwork, right? Tell me about you. What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What are challenges that are something that you've got to work on to grow, right? What's a weaker, tell me about you. How do you think? How do you operate, right? How do you work in ambiguity? How do you work under stressful times? What is your growth mindset? Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you, If somebody's like, can't answer those questions, I'm going to really have a challenge bringing you onto the team, right? Because you probably lack a little bit of introspection, retrospection, right? All of those things really matter. And I think they matter. Hard skills versus soft skills, right?
Absolutely. And we do have, let me clarify, we do have questions that we go deep into the needs, the wants, that stuff. But I think to your point, it's like, what are you really all about, right?
Absolutely.
What's your passion?
What inspires you?
Because if you don't have passion in what you're doing, like you said earlier, right? It's you're going to continue to just check the box until you find something else. Right.
I actually think that's a really good point. I don't necessarily think so. I will tell you, I have landed in the tech field, right? That's a long, windy story, but I landed in the tech field. I'm not going to lie. I'm not super passionate about tech, right? I'm passionate about what tech can do for our customers, right? I'm passionate about using it to solve problems and in the field that I'm in, help protect national security, right? But I'm not passionate about tech. But if you're passionate about something else, for example, people, you can still be really successful in a job that is, say, in tech, right? I think finding, again, your passion, knowing who you are, innately
Absolutely.
and letting that come through, it's just people.
Right.
And I've been in a lot of different industries, also none of which I was necessarily passionate about. But the common thread was I was really passionate about people and helping people, whether it was internal customer, external customer. And again, even just in my life, my friend group, my daughter, right? Like I love to help people. I love to help people solve their problems.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out your passion, that passion will follow you anywhere.
Absolutely. And that approach works well with customers because you care about them, you empathize, you want to know because like you said, technology is technology. Plug in whatever.
Yeah. It's going to change in 3 months anyways, right? So, yeah.
But it's truly getting to the needs, the wants, and to help the mission or anybody else on the personal side, right? So I love that.
Yeah.
And that goes into a little bit into one of the questions that we like to ask is the growth mindset versus scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's like I think we touched it in some of the answers that you've given, but I would love to emphasize that a little bit more. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think I said this to you when we were getting ready. I actually have a tattoo that says, be afraid and do it anyway.
Wow.
I think I am the epitome of growth mindset. I'll kind of start back to when I was a kid. So oldest of 5 kids, single mom. There was not money for college. She didn't graduate from high school. So the fact that I'm like, kind of sitting here today is it's all, I always think it's like, I'm like, this is more than I ever expected. Amazing. Right. But my mom was really great at saying, like, if I asked a question, go look it up, go figure it out, go find it, go get the encyclopedia. There wasn't Google yet. Right. Go, if you need to spell something, look it up in the dictionary. And I think that kind of started that like the growth mindset, right? I was always really curious, right? And so I didn't go to college right away. I wound up, moving to Europe for a few years and traveled and learned the language. And I think you grow with that, right? I learned a different culture. I got a totally different perspective. And then I said I wanted to own my own business by the time I was 30, wound up doing that. I did that for 10 years. I've done some consulting work. And along the way, each time I did something new, right, it was a new growth area, right? I learned something new. I learned new people. I developed a new skill set. So there's a little bit of, if you're willing to jump in and if you're willing to try something, you're going to naturally grow, right? You're going to build that tool set that you have. But I think the biggest growth opportunity I had came when I decided to leave my business. I ran it for 10 years and I decided to get into government contracting. I had a friend that brought me over to a systems integrator, and I had, by the way, no idea what I was doing. I was terrified. And that person that brought me over actually left a few months after I started.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was like deep end of the ocean, right? And I kind of filled in and took over his portfolio for a while we were looking to recruit someone new. And I was so scared every single day. I was like, I don't know who thought I should be doing this, but somebody should tell him I'm not qualified, right? Like I had these massive contracts and all of these people that were suddenly looking to me, and I couldn't even spell government at that time, right? Gosh. But I just kind of dug in and figured it out, and I really leaned on the team. I leaned on the people that were smarter than I was and was like, tell me what I don't know, right? There was a lot of humility. Like if that's another one, right? Like if you're not humble and you're not willing to be like, I don't know, just don't do it, right? And that for me was huge, right? Leaving a business that I was really familiar with and knew like the back of my hand to go into a totally new industry, and then to have the leader leave and kind of jump in. And it was so scary. But I knew if I quit and I stopped, I'd be so mad at myself, right? I knew if I stepped away and didn't keep going, I would let myself down. Right. And I think that's the big thing, right? If you're not growing, you're letting yourself down. You're giving yourself a disservice. Because I will tell you right now, I don't want to be the same person that I was 10 years ago, right? Like I've got my core values, right? I should be like at my core, I should be me. But if you aren't growing and you're not growing and developing your teams and yourself, like it's to me, it's a sad life, right? It's not a life well lived.
It goes back to what you were saying is stagnant, right? You stay stagnant.
Yep.
I won't go that drastic, but you take 10 and you die, right?
Yeah, it's so true though. It is so true,
Right.
right? If you look around, I will tell you, I love that I have built this group of people around me, again, friends, coworkers. I have my board of directors, my people that I go to, and I watch them grow, right? And we all help lift each other up, and we all help each other grow and be better versions of ourselves. Right. Again, it kind of goes back to I don't want to be the same person that I was 10 years ago, because there is so much to learn, right? There's so much opportunity that if you go and take it and you say yes, amazing things will happen. Yeah. And it is scary. If I'm not doing something that scares me every day, it's I feel like I'm missing out on something, right? I am literally scared every day. I started at this amazing company, 6 months ago, and it's a different role. It's a new role. And I've probably told my boss multiple times, I'm like, I'm just hoping I don't get fired, and I kind of joke about it, but it's it's a new challenge, right? I'm growing a new skill set. I'm honing a new skill. I'm putting another, box on my resume. But I'm also, as a mom, showing my daughter that you can go try new things and you can do anything, and you can pivot your career, and you can, it's again, if you want a team to grow, you've got to grow, right? Absolutely. If you want your kids to grow, you've got to grow. Right. Nobody's going to follow you if you're like, hey, you guys should grow and you should be the best you can. And then you're just sitting there doing stagnant water. Right.
Exactly. Let me, the staying complacent, as you know, I'm a pilot, and one of the biggest things that, you stay complacent. And I was not joking when I said you die, because if you are saying, I don't need to learn anything else, and I'm just flying, you take off and don't do the things that you need to, right? And continue to stay aware and learn about, there's always ways to learn, right? Yep. There's a potential that something bad is going to happen and you're not ready to take it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if people want to fly with me, but it's I want to say I'm afraid of flying, because in a way that, not because I'm a good pilot, great pilot, I think, if you ask me, but I treat it with so much respect and fear.
Yeah.
That allows me to be okay, is everything good? Is the plane good? Are the engines good? Are the avionics good? Are my people that are going to be here good? Is the weather good? Is my destination good? I have to check and think. I tell people, it's like running a business, because you got to make sure that you're looking at all these different things, and you also got to learn about all the different things. Yep. And I didn't know I was going to become a weatherman. Become a pilot. I didn't know I was going to become
other duties as a side,
right? Mechanic. Not doing this thing, but understanding the engines and all this. I'm not never enjoyed getting into the cars and all that stuff, but I needed to learn to ensure to understand those things. So just bringing it up from it, you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to grow, right?
Yep. Well, and I think that it's healthy fear, right?
Right.
A healthy fear is good,
Absolutely.
Right? If I'm not making sure my team's okay, making sure we're not looking to the future, making sure, again, this is a lifestyle, right? It's not just because you're in a role. I'm not in a leadership role today, right? I have been in it before. Mm-hmm. I should still act the same way that I would if I was in the actual role. But you're a pilot as part of your lifestyle, right? But you treat it the same way you would treat your team, the same way that you run your business. Try to be prepared for things, pivot when you need to.
Absolutely.
Check on your team behind. Are you good to go?
Very good.
You probably engage with people that have been flying longer than you have, and you're learning new skill sets, right? Mm-hmm. It's find all of those things. It's all 100%. Life. It's all a lifestyle, right? It's not just because you're in a role.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I know we ran out of time here. I want to make sure we ask two more questions here that I have. Is what's the vision of the future of leadership from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the future of leadership, thankfully, I think we're getting better at it, right? Mm-hmm. I think you are a kind, compassionate leader. I think I'm a kind, compassionate leader. And I think we're raising our kids. I think the next generation is so far ahead of us already. If we look at, what we're teaching our kids in school and how we're approaching parenting, right? My daughter is so much more aware than a lot of adults that I know. Right. So I think we're headed in the right direction. I think organizations know that you can't lead with fear. You can't have the same people on the team.
Right.
That you have to acknowledge that people are their full selves, that they are going to have diversity of thought. They're going to have diversity of challenges.
Right.
You're going to have single moms. You're going to have people that need to focus on their kids. I think as a country, we already are doing a better job of that. And so I think from a business world, the leadership is going to get better.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's what we're trying to do. Put the word out there, awareness, right? It doesn't matter who you are, what you like believe, right? You are what you believe, you are what you think. So let's create this. It's such a kind world at the end of the day, right? Where we're all doing amazing things, right? Yes. Getting into our flow and what we're passionate about, right?
Yeah. I tell my daughter, I said, she's always like, are people really nice? I'm like, I think the majority of people are really nice. Yeah. Exactly. I think I like to believe that the majority of the people in the world are good. Yeah.
What does success mean to you?
You know what? Success to me is people wanting to be in my orbit. I have never left a job where people didn't say to me, let me know where you land. I'll always come work for you.
Wow.
To me, that is huge. Success is, again, having people around me that leave a conversation and feel empowered, that they feel like they can go conquer the world. Like that is my like footprint I want to leave on the relationships that I have. Is I want people to know that like if I'm in your orbit, I'm on your side.
Right.
I believe in you. I'm on board. Like let's go get it done. Awesome. Whether it's a customer, like I want customers to feel like I am partnering with you. Like we are in this together and I'm going to do right by you. It's the same way with my team. Like I'm in, you're on my team.
Right.
It's all for one for all. And then the same thing with my friends and my daughter, right?
That's awesome.
I think that's success, right? If people will follow you, that's huge. If people will let you lead and you can lean on them, like that's success, right?
Yeah.
You've made it.
That's awesome. I love how you describe that. It's like, it's really the people in your orbit and the impact you're making around them.
Absolutely.
Right? That's at the end of the day, leaving a legacy, right?
Absolutely.
Because, hey, they'll talk about you and what you were able to do for them.
How did I make you feel?
Exactly.
How did I make you feel?
Exactly.
Like if you can make someone feel great, you're going to feel really good. It's like this extra bonus that you innately get.
Absolutely. Love it, Schatem. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Fun question here. If you could have coffee with anyone alive or from the past, who would it be and why?
Okay. So I told you, I prefaced this with I'm going to cheat on this one because there's two. First one, not alive anymore. Rest in peace. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, just like she is the epitome of leading through the face of diversity at a time, especially as a woman, right? Like, just wow. Across the board, wow, such a huge inspiration. It's actually one of the only Time magazines I've ever purchased. And when she passed, I've got her, the one with her picture on it. And my daughter knows all about her.
Nice.
And then as a woman in tech, she is currently still alive, Sheryl Sandberg. If you haven't read her book, Lean In, highly recommend it. Just a huge inspiration from being, again, one of the first women to sit at the table, right? I remember listening to her talk about like when she was, having a baby and, the women's restroom and all of those challenges that, thankfully I haven't had to necessarily experience all of those. But she just, as a mom, as a, amazing leader in tech, like I love her. I would love to sit and have coffee and pick her brain for an hour.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Those are two amazing women, and great folks. So thank you very much for sharing. All right. So where can listeners connect with you?
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm certainly not as, popular as the leadership podcast that you've got here. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, right? That's probably the easiest way to connect with me. And I'm always, always around at all the conferences in the local area,
Exactly.
et cetera. So,
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, LinkedIn is always good. And no, I'm pretty humble. I mean, I don't know where this is going to go.
I love it. I love that you're doing it. I think it's
just
great.
Putting it out there. Sometimes I wonder, is this, this is a good thing? But I think people are listening to it. So
I think it's awesome. I think there's so many resources out there that if you are someone young that's looking to get into leadership,
Exactly.
I know we're wrapping up, but I think one thing for people to think about
that's a final thought. Here we go.
Perfect. Final thought. Don't wait to be in the role to be a leader, right? Like there's so many great things out there. Like if you think that you eventually want to lead a team, start now. Start honing that skill, right? Start stepping up as an individual contributor and making your voice heard. Go listen to podcasts like this. Go figure out your working genius. Go look at your Enneagram, right? Like you want to go reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll tell you all of the things that you can go into, right? But start honing the skill now so that when you get there, you're ready, right? And you're ready to know what you do know and you're ready to know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Just don't wait to start being a good leader once you get into a role.
Right. And it's not a title that defines your leadership or your kindness, right? It's not that. Forget that. It's like you don't have to be like, oh, I want to be that person once I get there. That's not true.
Yeah.
You can do it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for the final thoughts there. So thanks, Schatem, for joining us today. This has been an amazing podcast here, getting to know you, get your feedback. So I really enjoy having you here. And thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody out there and for listening. Let me know if you have any feedback. Let me know of anything that you guys would like to hear or change here. I always welcome feedback, but always looking forward to the next episode. So with that, be kind, bring value, rise together. Take care. Bye-bye.